If you've ever felt stuck in the cycle of working harder but not earning more, then today's episode of the Unleash Your Ambition podcast is going to change the way you think about success, money, and most of all, yourself. My co-host for today's episode is Amy Kemp. Amy's the author of ICU and the CEO of Amy Kemp Inc. She has a powerful way of showing us that money is energy and it's meant to move, not to be clung to. We have a conversation about why money is actually a mirror and what you believe about yourself, how emotional attachment from money keeps it from flowing. And we also talk about what it really takes to shift those old habits of thinking that hold you back. This episode is all about seeing money as a flow and not a fight. It's also about opening yourself up to more abundance without burning out. All right, grab your pen, your paper, and your favorite drink and get the most out of this episode. Amy, thank you so much for being here. Can you share who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
I'd love to. Thanks for having me. My name is Amy Kemp. I am a business owner. I'm the owner and CEO of a company of my own name, so Amy Kemp Inc., in which I use an assessment tool and a curriculum called the Habit Finder that helps people identify the subconscious habits of thinking that are holding them back or creating noise in their head that's preventing them from creating what they want in their lives. I do this, I consider it sacred work,
Yeah.
both one-on-one and in small groups. And then I am an author. I published a book called I See You, and it is a book that is for women who want more income, influence, and impact without more work. So when you get to that point where just working harder or working more either isn't possible or you don't want to do it, but you still want more, what do you do then?
Mhm.
And the core message of the book is that you can't outwork your thought habits. And so at that point, you get the opportunity to dig a little deeper. It's one of the gifts of being ambitious, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I guess outside of work, I always forget to talk about that too.
Yeah.
I love life outside of work. I have a husband of 25 years who is an assistant principal and a coach locally in our community, and then three children who are almost all taller than me, and I'm really tall. So the youngest is 14, and then I have an 18 or 19-year-old, and then a 21-year-old daughter who just graduated from college.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay!
And sounds like you have a lovely family. And I'm so glad that you're here today because what you just talked about, wanting wanting more without having to do more and how it circles back down to what's going on in here, what's going on in our mind. I mean, I don't even know if the brain and the mind are two totally different things, but um, you have a chapter in your book, I See You. It's called Money is a Mirror.
Oh, I'm so glad you wanted to
Yeah.
dig deep into this because it's my
Hmm.
favorite one to talk about. So I was so pumped.
Yeah. Me too, because it
Mm,
it immediately drew my curiosity and I didn't want to go into it. I just wanted to learn it here, just
yeah,
like everyone else,
yeah.
because your perspective is different from anyone else's out there, even though some concepts might be similar,
Mhm.
but you have your unique spin on this. So where do you want to start with money as a mirror?
Well, I think I'd love to start just sort of with a good analogy that I use in the book to talk about my own changing relationship with this topic. If
Mhm.
you were to ask me where entrepreneurship has challenged me the most, it would most definitely be in my relationship with money. So when I first started out as an entrepreneur, which would have been 25 years ago, uh, I was, imagine an ocean with very large waves in it and a person out there on sort of like a surfboard. That was me. I was out there in the entrepreneurial world, and when things were going well financially in my business, I was on top of the wave, smiling, yelling, enjoying, feeling on top of the world. When finances got tight, as they always do, I've never met a business owner whose business only grew and they never had a downturn. Uh, I fell into the ocean, sputtering, gasping for air, panicking. My internal experience was so dependent upon the financial mm, feedback I was getting from my business, I'll call it, that it was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting. And not only my feeling of safety and security, but my feeling of worth and value was so attached to those things. The way I would describe it today, and I am very humbly, I'm very careful about this because I don't ever want people to think that it's not still a daily journey, that it's not still something I practice on a daily basis. This is not like, well, I took care of that. It's all done, right? It's something that I choose every day, but that the habits of thinking around this have changed so significantly. The way I would describe it today is that I swam to the beach and I walked to a local store and I bought one of those little chairs that you sit on at the beach and an umbrella. And I sit on the beach and I watch the money move. And from the beach, you recognize a few things if we're considering the water to be the money, which one of them is that there's no shortage. There's no shortage of money when you look at it from that vantage point. The second thing is that the money is supposed to move. The money is supposed to go up and down. The tides are supposed to go in and out. And when you're looking at it from the beach, you don't really worry that that's going to happen. Well, there are storms for sure. We just endured a global pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And there are storms that are very real. I don't ever want to, understate that. It's a part of the experience. It just happens and it's out of your control. But from the vantage point of the beach, you separate your feeling of value and your feeling of safety and security from the money. And when you do that, money tends to move toward you in much greater quantities.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Um, I have a mantra that I say is money is abundant, money is
Mm,
energy, money easily flows to me and through me. To acknowledge that I'm not just meant to hoard the money and trust that more is going to flow to me. And your analogy definitely represents that, just being able to be an observer of mo money flowing, the
mm,
abundance of money. And I know money is just tied into everything that we do, everything that we live off of. I mean, it's intertwined in everything.
mhm.
And the reason why I wanted you on the show is because there are so many people who are so emotionally attached to money and they don't see it as abundant. They don't see it as something that's supposed to come and go.
Yeah.
That, and they're also seeing, you know, I wouldn't say fake images of people, but um, the highlight reels
Yeah,
of
they're
other
seeing the
entrepreneurs.
unicorns, right? They're
Yes.
seeing they're
Yeah.
seeing I always think of it sort of like the bell curve, right? Where most
Mm-hmm.
people are living in the middle. And but we're looking at the people on the farthest end of the bell curve,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a 0.0001%
Yes.
as our model.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But most people are somewhere in this middle region,
Mm-hmm.
living and experiencing life and business and money. I love what you're saying about money in that it's supposed to move. The movement of money is an interesting thing because
Mm-hmm.
it is an energetic entity.
Yeah.
So when you cling to it or you are fearful to let it go, or you feel bad letting it go, or you overthink letting it go. Um, And that's not to say also that you want to just be letting it all go.
Right.
But there should be
Yeah.
sort of like a good flow of money coming in and going out of your world. It's when we get too attached to it that it stops moving.
Hmm.
I've also had some really interesting interactions with clients around things like maybe I'll make one up, but maybe they lent someone a sum of money and that person never paid it back. And now they're watching on social media as that person is out gallivanting and vacationing, and they know that this person never paid them this money back. And they have this energetic block around this money. There's something about releasing that energetic block or uh, surrendering it, or there are certain times where we get real shameful or angry or attached to what that money represents. That's not right. That shouldn't have happened. But I always think I've yet to meet a person also who hasn't made a few mistakes with money, who hasn't invested money where it didn't come back. I just made one a couple of years ago, just an investment that at the time felt really wise. I thought I did all of my steps and it just wasn't a good investment. It just didn't have a good return.
Mhm.
But I don't know any business owner who hasn't done it. I think mostly it's the person who doesn't make the investment and then learn from it that doesn't grow. It's the person who gets all wrapped up in the shame of that or is embarrassed by it or doesn't talk about it and just let it go, who has attachment to that the money stops moving. Uh,
That makes sense.
mhm.
I mean, I can look back at my previous experiences with money. I mean, of course it's always a journey,
Yeah.
but there was a time when I didn't think money was abundant. I only saw what was right in front of me. So being emotionally attached, like I clearly see how it screws up
Oh,
the flow of it coming into you because you can't
yes.
even you're like locked in
Mhm.
thought loops that aren't
Yeah.
helpful at all, and it
Yeah.
just makes things worse. So,
And I've never thought about money more than when I didn't have enough of it.
mm-hmm,
I think there's this narrative, and I challenge people a lot to do a ton of reflection and writing on their own messaging around money, what they say about people who have a lot of money, what they think when they see big houses or symbols of money, um, because you can learn a lot about your own relationship with money and yourself through your response to money. And I think there is a lot of judgment that we apply toward people who have abundant resources that prevents us from being able to receive those same resources. Because if we have a lot of judgment about their character or about how much they work or what they're sacrificing for it or who they're taking advantage of to get it, and please don't misunderstand, there are people doing that. That's not, I'm not to say, but there are also people who aren't.
right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think what we need to be careful of is that we're attaching that to the money, and in turn, it's harming us
I couldn't agree
because we're
more.
not able to receive it. Again, people are doing all sorts of things with money, horrible and wonderful,
Mhm.
right? It's just a thing.
Right.
It's an inanimate object that we
Mm-hmm.
are assigning value to. We
Mm.
also have a really interesting way of earning what we really believe we're worth. Really believe we're worth. You cannot lie. You will figure out, and some people will say to me, right, but I get a salary. I don't care. I have seen the craziest things where people will leave a salaried position at X amount of dollars, it doesn't matter, go start a new business and figure out how to make exactly the same amount of
Mm.
money, and they
Yeah.
will self-sabotage in the craziest ways, create relational conflict. They will be disorganized. They will not follow up with people. They will create conflict with other business entities to keep themselves at that lower level of earnings. It is the craziest thing how you cannot out earn your own feeling of worthiness. You just can't.
Oh my goodness. So I'm glad that you have dedicated, years helping people with this because, we're not taught any of this in traditional
Ugh.
school. Um, Most likely not in our household unless, we have parents like you
Mm,
but I mean, it's just obviously just from everything that we see in the world that money, money is not taught in this way.
yeah.
And I think you having a voice to share these things because it really helps you take a look at like what your beliefs are about money, your value assigned, what you think your value is assigned to how much money you earn, which
Mm,
that can be
hard.
extremely tricky and hard for people who are entrepreneurs,
Oh,
because if they're attaching how how valuable they are
hmm.
to the money that they earn, it can put you in a tailspin, you know.
On the flip side,
Hmm.
if you want to earn more, yes, you'll need to work,
Yeah,
but it
that's a
is not
given.
about working harder. It is about doing the deeper inner work so that you believe you are worth it. And
Yes.
that work is the gift of entrepreneurship. Because if you want to know every unhealthy habit of thinking you have in your head, go ahead and become an entrepreneur. You will
Yeah.
get to experience it at a real level.
Right.
And one of the places that that plays out the most is with money.
Hmm.
And so I definitely see it's a very hard truth, but it's not, there's no judgment in my voice around it. It's simply an observation. That's why money is a mirror. It's not that it's good or bad. It's just giving you information. It's giving you the information that this is what you actually believe you're worth. And that can be changed.
Yes, that's the great thing about it. It can
It's
be
the
changed.
best thing about it, right?
Hmm.
And there's nothing stopping you from changing that. Now, what kind of work does that take? Different kind of work than just going and punching the time clock and putting in hours at your business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing that. Of course, if you want to earn more, you're gonna work, but
Yes.
but it's just gonna be in a different way. Um,
But some of the people I know who are
mhm.
working the most hours and who are have no quality of life aren't earning as much as other people who I
Yeah.
know who are working 20 hours a week or whatever they want to work and enjoying their lives, but also creating a large quantity of money. And so there's just this realization of like, it's not always an exchange of one for the other, time for the money.
Hmm.
It's value for the money, but
Hmm.
also it's about the way you're moving through the world and what you believe about yourself.
I love that you brought that up. Yeah. I know my experience, the early stages, I was working 70, 80 hours a week. I wasn't taking care of my health, really wasn't present with my family, consuming sugar, stressed out all the time. And finally got burned out, took a break because my health was in danger. And I ended up getting pregnant a year into that. But when I came back, I made a promise that I would not work in that capacity again.
Mm,
And that was like the catalyst to me creating more space, which
yeah.
it seems so counterintuitive.
Oh, I always say it feels like, well, let me back up.
Yeah.
In your life, at some point in your life, did you survive by working really hard?
Oh, absolutely.
Totally.
Hmm.
So our brains are hardwired for survival. And so if especially at young ages, if you've hardwired into your brain that you survive by achieving and by working harder than anyone else and being perfect, right? And doing more and, overachieving or achieving, to say to your brain, we're not, The next thing we want to go to is not that. Your brain is legitimately, your subconscious mind is screaming danger, danger, danger,
Mm-hmm.
danger, danger, danger. And so there's this rewiring process, and it feels to your nervous system wrong. It's like, but it is actually like going pedaling backwards on a bike, right? All of a
Yes.
sudden, it's like, I'm doing the opposite of what I
Right.
always did before. It's
Yes.
very, very fascinating.
Yeah. And that was definitely my experience. Now I earn more than what I did then, and I earn way less. I'm focusing way less on my business. I feel more fulfilled. I have time to think, so for the people that are watching or listening, Amy, you bring up so many good points here. And about money being a mirror and having to just really self-reflect, but not in a way to where you feel bad about yourself
No.
or feelings of shame, but just take a look at, okay, these are my beliefs right now. These beliefs aren't serving me. How can I switch to beliefs that serve me?
Yes.
So what do you think about that? Like, do you have any I know you have a lot in your book, but like when it comes to reframing beliefs, like what is a method um
Mhm.
or something that you've done, you
Yeah.
know? Hmm.
Well, I think what you're describing a lot also are the core of my work, which are these subconscious habits of thinking. And it's like we've got to get ourselves one, we have to create awareness of what they are, even that they're happening. We're largely not paying attention to them. And then we have a fighting chance of making a different choice. It almost always is different than what you think it's going to take to get to that next level. It's not what we've been taught in school all of the time. It's a different method. I would recommend if you want a snapshot of underneath the surface, you can take the habit finder that I use for free. It's a free tool and you get your results right away. It shows you where you have risk of falling into certain subconscious habits of thinking. And sometimes just the awareness is really beneficial of understanding what's going on. And you can catch it and then make a different choice, like you were saying, not with judgment. I'm always compassionate because just like in all situations, the reason you have those habits is because at some point they helped you survive. There's nothing wrong with
Hmm.
them. It's just that now, if you no longer need to survive and you keep employing them, it will become detrimental and damaging.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when you employ a survival mechanism past the point of needing it to survive, it actually becomes damaging and detrimental. And so that's the point at which we get to choose some different paths and go a different route.
So the habit finder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a snapshot of you. Do you know the children's game Shoots and Ladders?
Yes, I remember that game. One of
So
my favorites.
you land on the square and you slide down the slide.
Hmm.
That's how our subconscious brain works. You know, there are certain situations that we get into when we have deep grooves in our brain where if you
Hmm.
land on that square, you're going to fall down that slide.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when you take the assessment, what it tells you, what it's measuring is not your personality or your strengths or anything. It's measuring the level of risk you have for falling into a certain pattern of thinking.
Okay.
And those patterns of thinking are not you. You're not your thoughts. Your thoughts
Right.
are just things. They're
Hmm.
just out there, but they're impacting you and
Hmm.
they're
Hmm.
impacting the outcomes you're getting in your work and in your life and in your income.
Mm,
So,
absolutely. So for you who's watching or listening, the link for the Habit Finder is below this video. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, look in the show notes, which is in the description. So, Amy, I know that we're almost out of time, but I would love for you to come back in the future because I know there's so much more that we can talk about. I mean, we could probably, it'd probably be 200 episodes or more because there's so much there. But for anyone that's wanting to connect with you outside the podcast, where's the best place to do so?
sure. I'll give you
Hmm.
two locations where you can find me most easily.
Okay.
Instagram at Amy Kemp Inc. That's a fun one just to follow me quickly and easily. But also my website, which is my name, amykemp.com. So AMYKEMP.com. You can take the habit finder there for free. There's a whole link about my book, I See You, including some really great video content that you can watch. I did a fun conversation with 8 advanced readers in my living room that was recorded. It's really cool. It's kind of like an Oprah style conversation that we had. It's a really meaningful conversation. And then all the links to get the book there, of course, as well as on Audible. So,
Wonderful. Okay, so you who is watching or listening, get access to that information, get access to Amy. There's just so much more where we haven't even scratched the surface today. So, Amy, before we close out, final words of wisdom for the person who is aware that, you know, there is no shortage of money, is aware that they have some thoughts that have turned into beliefs that don't serve them with helping them, you know, with their relationship with money. They're doing some things, but they keep on hitting a wall or they keep on backtracking. What would you recommend would be their
mm,
next step be?
the answer you're looking for is not outside of yourself. However, you're probably not going to find it inside of yourself on your own. We are designed to live and breathe and grow in community with other people. And so, in any capacity, when you take an amount of money and you invest it in yourself, in growing you, and I don't care what that is, buying a book, enrolling in a course, hiring a coach, joining a group that you've been thinking about, whatever you, that just, when you take a chunk of money and you say, I am worth investing in, and you move that money from your account into that other space, there is something in that act that will trigger change immediately. It will start to shift things immediately. Do not apologize. Do not over explain. And for Pete's sake, don't feel guilty because you are harming no one. Guilt is a feeling we're supposed to have when we're harming someone, but guilt is not meant for situations where you are helping not only you, but everyone you love by growing you. So invest in you.